My golden child brother disowned me for being adopted, but now wants favors from me. I ended up talking to two of my friends from high school. They were actually there during multiple occasions when Chad publicly said all the stuff about me not being family. We talked and we all mutually agreed, I do this once, see if we can mend things, if not I can tell my mom and sister I tried and we are done with the whole thing, and if the whole negative thing with my family keeps up, I will cut them off for good. So I accepted to go babysit. I went over to Chad's house around 8 p.m. As soon as I showed up I was greeted by Chad's wife, who was extremely happy to see me. She talked to me for a few minutes about how happy she was that I came over and how she was glad to be going out with Chad. I kinda just listened to her go on and on before she finally got to the baby named Seth. She explained to me his night route, feedings, etc., nothing too big. Then she got to the end where she started going on about how he was having crying fits at night and how he wouldn't get to sleep until mid-morning. She then said they would only be gone about 4 hours and that they would be home around like 12:30. After this, Chad shows up from their room, literally starts talking to his wife, looks at me and then just looks me over for a minute and gives me a small wave and nod before heading out of the house. His wife follows and simply tells me to call or text if I need anything. For a minute I was just stunned but went to work to see Seth. Which was odd, because it was my first time seeing him in person and not in the photos that are hung around our partner's house. In person he is the cutest little baby ever. He was fine the whole time, and he only cried because there was no one in the room, not because of the weaning. By this time it was around 11:30. I would check the clock every few minutes just to see what time it was. 12:30 rolled around and I'm like, should I text them? But I gave them another few minutes until I needed to text them. I ended up texting both of them at one asking where they were because they did say they would be home by now. I got no reply from either of them. They finally show up at 3 in the morning. I'm livid at this point. Not even over having to take care of Seth for a longer period of time, but just because they never texted me back. Like, what if there was emergency or something? They walk into the living room and I'm just like, I texted asking where y'all were and no one answered, and Chad's wife starts saying that Chad said it was fine and that it would only be an hour more, and I was just like, you know what, it's fine, whatever, Seth is sleeping. She looks at me all weird and I rolled my eyes, say it's not the weaning that's making him cry at night. He gets lonely, he's clingy. Just let him know you are in the room when he starts crying and he will go right back to sleep. I started to walk out with my stuff, as I was right about to walk completely past Chad when I turned around and was like, so you aren't going to say anything to me? After I looked after your kid for like 7 hours now? He snorted at me and was like, no? My wife is the one who talked me into this anyway. At this point I said, so this wasn't a way to be able to apologize for high school or maybe all those other times you decide to outcast me from the family? Because I was under the impression that maybe you want to patch things up because of you asking me of all people to watch your kid. He sat there for a minute and just said, why should I apologize? Because literally nothing from high school has changed. Man, you really do need to just grow up and understand that me and my wife aren't going to cater to you like mom and dad did because you're adopted. You ain't our family and you won't ever be. At this point I just got in my car and left. I ended up texting my mom about all of it thinking she would get it in the morning when she woke up. No, of course she had to be awake. She apparently told Chad's wife about the conversation we had about all the stuff Chad had said and done to me in school. Apparently his wife felt bad because she had an adopted sister too and felt horrible that Chad had done and said all those things. Apparently mom didn't know about Chad asking about the babysitting thing until now, and she started talking to the wife, who is now upset. Apparently she thought Chad would have changed since then and didn't think he would act the way he did when I left. I told my mom that I'm done with him, and that if something ever happened with Seth then I would be there, but I was done with them until that happens. The way things are going, I will most likely be cutting my whole family off.